Pastor Roy Gearhart from Galloway United Methodist Church in Franklin, Pennsylvania, sharing a few words of encouragement to help us follow after Jesus. How does a kid who's not a super athlete win an athletic award? Well, I'll tell you how I did it. In ninth grade, I went out for track. I realized pretty quickly that I had too many weaknesses to be a winner in straight out running. And so I figured out that I needed a better plan. I needed to be able to use my head as much as I use my legs. And so I learned to run hurdles, worked hard at it, and in that I was positioned in an area of competition that many people avoided. And so I didn't have a lot of competition and managed to fall into line to win third place finishes 4 times over in my ninth grade year. I ended with as many points as the super athlete of my class and managed to get a varsity letter that year. Something so unexpected for me. And that's the way that I see God working in our lives. So many things that are against us, so many weaknesses that we have, that sometimes our strengths are just not enough on their own. And there needs to be a plan that engineers some things in our life in a way that even with our weaknesses, we can overcome and be positioned to be in a place for the win. That there's something that we can accomplish in our lives by the power of God. That's what I see God doing over and over again in people's lives, in the Bible and in everyday life. God working to overcome our weaknesses and having a plan that in fact seems to be poised and ready to deal with even our mistakes and failures. I've said for years that overcoming our sin is like trying to overcome your own stupidity. It's something that's embedded in you. And if you don't get some kind of outside assistance, you and I get caught in this internal loop that just dooms us to failure over and over again. Well, recently I saw a post that said that God has great purpose for your life and mine, and He has already factored in your stupidity. It's exactly what I'm talking about, is that you and I have our own faults, failures, and weaknesses. And we're thinking, how in the world is God ever going to get us out of the hole? How would God ever do anything of importance with my life? Well, that's the thing that we're talking about. God is able to be prepared so that even in spite of, and sometimes because He knows the point of our failure and our weakness, He's ready to position us through that in the place where He can launch from to do something really important with your life and mine. He did that with Samson. Samson is a guy with amazing physical strength, but he needed something more. You see, without God in his life, one, he would not have had superhuman strength. I mean, whatever strength the man had physically in his own build that he was born with by the power of God, God supercharged that. We're told that his strength was not just his physical prowess, but when the Holy Spirit came upon him, he gained a superhuman strength. But Samson needed something even more than that. He needed the planning and purposefulness of God to direct his life. Because Samson was reckless in so many ways. He made bad decisions. He had a weakness for women that led him into many foolish decisions. But God was ready for all of Samson's mistakes, his failures, his weaknesses. And in fact, God used that to position Samson so that he would fulfill a greater purpose. And what was that? Well, God had announced it even before Samson was born, that he would be the man who would fight the Philistines and break their grip on the people of Israel. Samson was going to serve not just his own personal interests, but he was going to do something great that would be impactful and beneficial to his whole people, to his nation of Israel. And so he has to be able to be positioned to strike a major blow. And he's like a one-man army. And God uses his failed relationships with Philistine women to actually ignite this battle between himself and the Philistines. And even the final battle of Samson's life, picture him without God. This is a man who would get into fights, blow up in anger, take on an army. This is a man who is going to die fighting. And he could have died out in the middle of nowhere, forgotten by everyone, accomplishing nothing of any benefit to himself or anyone else. But God positioned him that final day of his life in the presence of a massive crowd of the leaders of the Philistines, and there gave him in that position the chance to have a winning battle at the end of his life, so that his death was remembered as a victory. God has a way of overcoming our weaknesses, planning for our stupidity. So may God bless you today, and as you share this good news, may God make you a blessing wherever he takes you.